Hello there, and welcome to the Wall of Weird podcast. Tonight's episode of Superman and Lois. No, we're actually.
Whoa!
We're doing Smallville, guys. We're doing Smallville. Yes, we did Superman and Lois for so long. It just feels weird to be back doing what we.
And it's going to be on the BBC soon.
Yes, so we obviously we created this podcast. Primarily as a Smallville podcast, and it's been a while that we've actually delved into a single specific episode. And tonight's episode, we are going into season 6. The episode is episode 16, and the title of that episode is Promise. This, of course, is the episode in which Lex Luthor and Lana Lang get married. We're going to go into it. Initial thoughts without getting too deep into it. I will say I watched this last night just to freshen up on it, and I can say right now I'm not sure what score I'm going to give this, and I feel like it's going to hinge on how our discussion tonight develops. But I will say there are certain things about this episode that I appreciated a lot more this time around. So who knows? Anybody else want to offer just some initial thoughts before we delve into it?
So I'm gonna say something because this episode is special to me. Because when I was binging the show, and I got to this episode, it hit me so hard that I was like, there's not very many shows that have hit me that hard. and it's not just that it hit one field. It was like, it's a roller coaster, much like Reckoning, it's like you get up here and then you crash hard. And it was just the fact that it evoked that level of emotion from me. I remember saying to my husband, wow, this show is something special right after this episode. So,
anyone else?
So I'll kick it off. Positive, Nicole. Positive. So, like Brian, actually, I literally just finished watching the episode. I didn't even have time, so I finally got to it just now. As an episode, it's a beautiful episode. I mean, the way that it's structured, the way that it tells the story, I feel like a lot of the actors, they really came in there with their A game. I think overall it tells this story well. And like you said, it does a good job with the emotions. It didn't hit me the way it hit you, but at the same time, I can recognize why it would. I mean, it does do a good job with that emotional pull. The way that it tells the story from different perspectives, I thought was really cool. I mean, I even remember the first time watching it, putting my anger with Lana Lang aside, which was permeating throughout the episode. The way they told the story, I thought, was very well done.
It's the only episode that does this. It's the only time in Smallville, and it's actually very unique that you don't even see this on TV regularly, where you actually get to see an event from 3 different characters' perspectives.
Yeah, they do it a few times on How I Met Your Mother, and they do a good job of it on How I Met Your Mother. But Smallville did it first.
Suspected it in the killing of the sheriff. So,
a little bit.
Oh,
not
that's
quite,
right.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Not
yeah.
quite to this.
The wine, the different scenes of the wine cellar, which we'll get to. That's really good.
Yeah, it's the whole Rashomon thing. And I will say X-Files actually. I got there before. So.
Okay, fine. Smallville did a really good job for How I Met Your Mother.
Okay. But just as the long-time X-Files fan, I just had to throw that out there. So. But anyway, moving on. Right, so I just want to say hello to the people that we've got in this. Well, there was 4 people. The 2 of them have just disappeared. Sorry, guys.
Were we too positive in the beginning, and they were expecting blood right at the start?
I know they want. Oh, they're back. They're back.
Yes!
Right. Hey.
Okay.
Okay. So Just a minute. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, Lisa,
So
what did
we
you
have
think of the episode?
Durbin and I have very different opinions about things. So this is going to be we've held back on the Lana drama in the past, and this is the episode for the Lana drama. So
Well,
I think we can find other episodes that have got more Lana.
yeah.
drama, to be honest.
Well, Nicole's been slowly trying to lure me to the dark side of Lana, so I'm getting to appreciate her a bit more through Nicole's perspective, and another member of our watch party who's also loves Lois and Lana. But I do say, you know, oh, I love you, Lois. Yeah,
no Lois in this episode, so we don't need to bring her up.
Yeah, so you know, I'm getting more coming round to liking Lana, but you know, she still does irk me off at some points. But you know, I'm kind of like on the fence with Lana.
You know,
Yeah.
There's two places where Lana is just okay for me. And that is the first 3 seasons. She annoys me, but she's fine. Whatever. It's not as bad as it gets. And another place where it's okay is the season 11 comics. They gave her a pretty decent ending in that.
Yeah, I like that story arc. Yeah.
What's funny is it's not that I'm like a huge Lana fan. It's that I understand her perspective and where she's coming from.
I don't get her perspective at all. I think she is so millennial entitled. Everything she's entitled to it.
We'll
save it. We'll save it.
Save it. Because I'm actually going to come to Lana's defense at some point during this episode. So we'll get there when we get there.
Well, okay, it's easy to defend her this episode. I'm going to argue about the build-up to this episode and how she shouldn't even be here.
That I can agree with, but we're just talking about this episode. So anyway, yeah, hello to
Cut
Jimmy
my legs
X.
out from under me. Come on.
Hello to Jimmy X Wolvie. Hello to Madam Bluebird, and hello to Josh Morse. Nice to have you in the chat. Okay, let's get into this bad boy and get the ball rolling. So, first up, find my cards. Where have they gone? Here they are. Number 1, topic of discussion. Clark's anger and pain begins. So obviously this alludes to the opening sequence in which we start with Clark's dream of him basically knifing Lex and then having Lana grab the knife because she can't bear to be without Lex and force Clark to knife her. So this is his dream that kind of represents where he's at in the story now.
I have to make a comment about the very beginning where it starts with him throwing the picture out. Now, very dramatic, nice moment, but did he kill somebody with that?
Oh.
It's in space. It's in space.
It didn't go up. It went out. It didn't go up. So
it was coming on a slant. It just carried on going and just gone out.
That could have caused so much damage.
Is it really going to go through the escape barrier, Brian?
I want to see a news report of somebody with a picture frame lodged into their brain. Just like it's just a permanent kind. It could be a new Superman villain. He's tried to track down whoever this numbnuts is who's hanging out of their head on this picture. He was never able to track down Lana because Lana's buried too deep into his brain. So this dude, this farm boy who's hanging out of his head. And I want to know who this scumbag is because I've got his flipping picture lodged into my head. So that's a new picture head. That's the new villain.
I love it. Picture head.
Picture head.
He's picture head. The origin.
Oh, I think you should write a comic for that.
Oh, it's coming. Picturehead revenge. Revenge of Picturehead. Yeah, but
you saw it here first, folks.
Well, it's always interesting, the dreams, because you can see what's going on in the character's head.
Well, also what's interesting about that dream, and I was watching it today, and I was like, okay, this is Clark's dream, so why on earth did he have no power and she pulled the knife? And I went, oh, because he feels powerless. Here he is even in his dreams, and he can't change her mind. He can't change her heart. He can't change any of that. And he's got to save her, but how, especially when this is her choice? He is feeling completely powerless. And so that was a nice setup, I think, to the beginning, to have in his own dream, Lana had the strength to pull his hand towards her and, the knife stabber.
And this episode deals with something that has always been a bit of a concern of mine, but for whatever reason, watching it this time around, it became a bit more cemented. And I guess, dealt with that concern, which is that I was always kind of like, there's no reason that Clark should be afraid to tell Lana, other than the whole, when he did it last
when
time.
She died a day
Yeah,
after.
no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason. Okay, if you're going to be scared, that's the reason. But and in which case you have to move on. You just have to, because you're not willing to put her life at risk. But that clearly isn't the issue here. He's kind of wants to get close and stuff, and it's just like the fear that he's dealing with isn't that. It's not actually that he'll lose her again. The fear is that maybe she does have enough feelings for Lex, enough to turn round to him and say, no, you had your chance. Because I was always like, it's not an issue as to whether she would say yes to him. He knows that she would, because she has done. He proposed, she said yes, that was that. So the whole, I don't know if I can. It's like, of course you can. You know you can.
Yep.
She said yes. That's a nonsense fear. Whereas when you look at it from this angle, it's not the fear that she doesn't love him. It's the fear that she loves Lex enough to pass him by. And
isn't that the essence of the conversation he has with his mother when she comes
with
home?
Martha? Yeah,
because that's what he talks about. He talks about how all of these fears that he has, maybe they're just excuses that he's come up with because of the one thing he's actually too afraid to do.
Plus, at this time, though, everyone thinks, well, who knows, thinks that Lana is actually pregnant. So,
that's something I definitely want to discuss, because
I forget, did Clark know she was pregnant at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes.
I just had to be reminded. Now we
everybody knows, because
because of Crimson, when he throws the baby
Clark
back
found out in Hydro, and then Crimson Clark revealed it to everybody else.
Yeah, he threw the pacifier.
The world.
Thank you. I just needed
that in the deal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that. Yeah.
All right.
But then you have the whole emotion that he's going through, with this wedding. It's always interesting to see Clark kind of angry and also in despair, and how he's dealing with that. I always kind of appreciate those little touches, like when he breaks something. I know what that feels
like when he's throwing the hay and he breaks the banister as he's throwing it in there. But
I love that moment.
Yeah,
I love his reaction. I love that it's like, I've done that myself, where I've let my anger just kind of
and then instantly regretted
bash something, and then you instantly go, "You're knobhead. Why did you do that?" now you've got another mess to clear up.
What a great little relatable moment. How many people don't like Superman because they feel like he's unrelatable? But then you go to something like Smallville, and you have a simple little moment where he throws the hail bay too hard and it breaks the banister, and it's like. Another mess. Oh. Who can't
Which you can clear up in like 2 seconds.
Like, let's just make my day worse.
Yes.
Yeah. It's right. Okay. So on to the next card, which is saving Chloe Clark's point of view. So this is a scene we see a couple of times in this episode. And this is the first time we see it. Again, at this point we don't know Lana is hiding in the all-concealing shadows. So
there's something interesting. I'm going to try to keep the discussion to Clark's point of view. Forget about the rerun of the scene. Yeah. Well, first we don't know how the heck she got locked in there in the first place, and then Chloe. Martha does the same thing, and it bothers me. So one thing that bothers me about this episode is that the previous episode, Chloe tells him to, you need to show up at the wedding to prove to everyone and yourself that you've moved on. And I don't know what it is that changed between that episode and this episode that all of a sudden Chloe's like, how could you possibly let Lana marry Lex? And I wouldn't be upset with Chloe's perspective if it didn't flip-flop. And I've seen that happen with other characters throughout I feel like every show does this. If they're not the main character, they can
You're marrying a monster, she says. Yeah.
Yeah. You can just change your opinion.
Counter argument to that is that when she says to Clark, you've got to show up at this wedding and prove to everyone that you've moved on, is in a way it's her testing to see if Clark has moved on. And I think the reaction that she gets from him probably proves that he hasn't moved on, in which case she's saying, then step up to the plate, asshole, and stop sitting on the fence.
Well, and what's interesting is that later on, we find out, I guess now I'm contradicting myself, because now that I think about it, later on in the episode, we see a little bit more of Chloe's perspective, and we see what she's seen Lana go through, and she's seen that Lana is not really happy.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that also maybe did lead up into maybe she's just realized that Lana isn't as happy as she thought she was.
Yeah. I think the combination of the two, I think that there are a few times when Chloe tests Clark or says something that is kind of designed to get a reaction out of him. And it's just, and I think it's the day of the wedding. It's make or break time, and I think she's just saying, "Look, clearly you're not over her, so flipping do something about it, or just be a miserable sod for the rest of your life." So yeah, that it doesn't really bother me, that, to be honest.
I think I agree with Brian on that. I think it's just clearly you're not over it, so step up or step out of the way permanently. I mean, make a decision. Poop or get off the top.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that stance. It's like either do something about it or move on. But he's in this state like for months where he's just in English.
Moping around.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Lois had just made him a White Snake mix CD. I mean, just go with Lois.
He's not ready yet.
I know.
He thinks he's not ready, but he's ready.
He's always ready.
He's ready for Lois.
Yeah. Look at his face at the end of Hydro, He's ready for Lois.
It's all about the Lois. Oh, yeah. Right. Anyway.
My for better or worse will include your love of hair metal.
So, next up, actually, I'll save it. I'll save it from when we get to the other perspective. Never mind. Okay, so next up, we've got Clark contemplates with Martha.
We talked about this a little bit.
We've talked about this a little bit. I just want to say one thing, which is that sometimes you notice things that you've never noticed before, and they're just the tiniest little things. They're almost inconsequential, but there's a moment where Martha says something to him, and this is all down to Welling. I think it's a really great performance because there's a really subtle look that he gives, which is a reaction to something she says. And it's like if you're paying attention and you're looking at body language, it's one of the moments where you get that this actor truly understands this character, and that they're not just acting; they have become that person. Where when Martha can say something, you get an honest physical reaction from the actor, from Tom Welling. It's just, and I can't remember what it is that Martha says, but it's this moment. It's the moment that prompts him to talk about what his fear might actually really be all about. And just before he says it, he just gives this look where it's like, you can see the consideration there for what he's about to say, and it's like I say, it's a very minute thing, but it just makes me appreciate.
Like I said, Welling just did that's why I feel the way I do about this episode. You know, you talk about, well, your feelings towards, you know, some characters, but it's really my feelings towards Clark. And all of his feelings just kind of manifest inside of me through this whole episode. So yeah, I mean, I think I know the look that you're talking about.
There's a couple looks that Welling
great.
has in this episode like that, and I'll talk about the other one when we get to it. But there was another moment, and it's kind of like you said, it was so small and subtle. It was just the way that he said a line, and it's like, oh yeah, he knows this character, and he knows exactly what this character is feeling right now, and he didn't just act that emotion. That emotion came out. So that's one of the things that I do like about this episode. You get into these characters, and I feel like they brought their A game with their performance, and so everything you just said, I agree with Brian and Nicole. He did a good job in that scene, just reacting to what his mom was saying.
Well, Clark asked the question, how did you know Dad was a one? How do you know he felt the same way?
Yeah, it was before that though. It was because it was literally the moment when he talks about it, you know, all this
He's
time
really
I've
thinking,
been thinking, all this time I've been thinking it's this, but actually, what if it was just, you know, what if my real fear is that actually she loves Lex? Essentially, that just the thing we were talking about before, which is that what if I'm just afraid that I go in there and I say, hey, I'm available again, and she says, yeah, I know, but you had your chance, and I do actually love Lex. So bye. That's his fear, and you see the consideration.
He's always
there.
had this. That's his biggest fear with Lana all along, is his fear of rejection. First, it was a fear that she would reject who he was, and that was a big part of why he didn't tell her his secret. You see it in a few episodes like Scare, that he's just afraid that of her rejection. Like it would hurt too much to be rejected by her.
Yeah. Which in many ways is why it is why it was a good idea to actually couple Lex and Lana together, because we'd already gotten to the point, you know, if you're going to keep Lana around, I mean, like my choice would have been
She's
to
gone
lose
in
her.
season 3. When she's in Paris. Yes.
Lose her sooner. But if you're going to keep her around, then where do you go with her? Because Clark's already proposed to her, knows that she'll say yes. So the question of her loving him there is no question at all. So how do you keep that fear that Clark has of rejection from her? Well, you have to put someone in his way that she could potentially love just as much.
Well, it also adds a whole nother dynamic between Lex and Clark as well, of this kind of getting them to be enemies. And I think that was another big reason why they did this. Yeah. And you even see it in this episode. I mean, take away the woman that he loves. That hurts. And Lex just constantly stick it to him too.
Yeah. Including his
so
girlfriend.
I think that that was a big reason why they did this.
I'm just not a fan of it.
I'm not a fan.
We know.
We know. Watching them happy together, but when they start falling apart, I love it. See them fight.
So next up, I got Lana confesses she is not marrying Lex. Again from Clark's POV. So yeah, again, Welling reactions. He doesn't say a right lot, but like he looks like a kid in a candy store. It's like, yes. Holy crap, is this actually happening right now? I'm going back to the barn. I'm waiting for you.
That, right? Like his mother had just talked about if she didn't take that risk, she would have lost everything. And so that kid in the candy store, like, I guess,
oh my god, absolutely, like
compared to what
he went on like cloud 9, like in an instant, and I went right with him.
and he goes out the door like a kid who's just like crept into the teacher's office and stolen something, and it's like, right, bye.
And he did it so slow, even though he's super fast. He like just ran out there, like, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great moment. And
I
then
wonder if
obviously,
he was going to redo the fortress proposal. Like, I wonder if he was running that through his head.
oh yeah. Yeah, it seems a bit weird that because we saw him, didn't we, practicing the proposal thing?
Yep.
Like,
With Shelby.
just after this, and it's like, dude, you've already done it. You can propose the exact same way you did before. You
and
know,
you rehearsed it, so you know how it's going to go. You know how to do it. Just do that again.
This is a non-event. Come on.
Actually, I had a bit of an issue. The same issue I had in Reckoning. Like, this guy just jumps to propose. Like, I mean, they weren't... like, he's literally on her wedding day, you're gonna propose to her?
I thought that
Well,
was
she's
amazing when I was
pregnant?
watching it. Yes.
It just is a little much. Just like in Reckoning, it was like, you're gonna tell her your secret and propose to her? Like, that's a lot to handle.
Yeah, but in all fairness, it is like he has just had that moment where she's dashed all the fears he had because she's literally turning down the man that he was afraid she was more in love with, and said, "No, actually, I'm not in love with him. I am in love with you." If you don't move in on that crap straight away,
well, and he went there to tell her his secret. By the way, that was his plan.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big risk on Clark's part because he's not just telling Lana. I mean, for all he know, she's about to become one with Lex. So, he's revealing his secret to somebody who's going to be living and sleeping with Lex forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, next up. Baby Luthor. Oh, look at that demonic face. That is disgusting.
I love how each one of these characters has a dream, and I love this dream.
It's just like,
I haven't noticed that before. It's horrible.
I'm glad I got that screenshot for you guys. Well, actually, it made people, well, because when I was first watching this, you didn't know that she wasn't pregnant. Yeah. So, you saw that and you're like, did he put like a experimental baby in her? Like, that was one of the things you're wondering.
That's not what I thought at all. First time I saw this, I thought this was all about Lex's fears of being a father. I thought it was like, is he going to follow in his father's footsteps and be a terrible dad himself? I thought it was all rooted in.
But what about the whole thing with the doctor saying after what you did and what Lionel said is I found out what you did. So we knew that he did something with this pregnancy, like something was weird about it.
Yeah, but I just assumed that it was something like he got her impregnated by unnatural means or something just to get her down the aisle. But then it's like, dude, now you got to step up and be a dad, and that's something that actually terrifies you. But instead, what this really was about was him feeling guilty for what he was doing to her. Yeah, that the baby isn't real. That it's just like,
like you did the devil in there or something, Yeah. No, it was.
Now, that was a good way to open Lex's side. Because Clark's side was feeling powerless.
He had some ultrasound like the day before. I don't know if that was the day before the wedding or the morning. I don't think it was the morning. It must have been the day before. I mean, that is really kind of cruel. I mean, that was just like to get her to go down the aisle. I'm gonna, emotionally manipulate you.
I didn't think about it that way, but yes, that is incredibly cruel.
I will say that it's probably because of this episode that when we had our first child and they said, "Do you want to see the picture on the ultrasound?" I was like, "No, no, no, thanks." It's just like that thing that let's bring that up again. Whatever the hell that thing is there. Yeah. Just it reminds me of I don't know if you've ever seen Train Spotting. It reminds me of Train Spotting with that baby that's crawling on the ceiling when they're in the drug fueled haze. It's just I don't like creepy babies. It's just something not right about it because you're taking something that's innocent and kind of just beautiful and you're corrupting it and turning it into something that, and it just messes with my head.
Well, they don't actually look like that, Brian.
I know. I've had 2 of the little buggers, so you know I'm fully aware. But
No, but I mean, even on the ultrasound, they don't look like.
I know. I saw the ultrasound. I saw both of them, and each time I was looking for the 666, and I was like, "Whew, not there. We're all good. Let's go." So,
Right, can I bring something up about this fake pregnancy?
yeah.
Right, I know Clark's all with his morals and stuff and invasion of privacy and, you know, with his X-ray vision, apart from when he looks in the girls' locker room. But
See where
That
you're
was
going.
unintentional,
See where you're
though.
going.
yeah,
That was
See
really
where
at control.
I would still thought, I want to know Lana's happy, the baby's safe. I'd want to sort of use my super hearing to hear for a heartbeat. Wouldn't never do the X-ray business on her. Yeah, but you know, Zod did the super hearing on Fiora when she was having a baby. Heard it die. Why didn't Clark use his super hearing to sort of work out? I can't hear a second heartbeat there.
It's a bit of a no-brainer, really. Isn't it?
That's a
It's
little
not.
creepy.
Is it
Yeah.
really? It's
Is
not.
it an
I don't think
invasion
it
of
is.
privacy?
No.
You know?
If it was his baby, I don't know. It's different.
No, because
then
if you're
yes,
looking
obviously,
if you're
but
looking
it's
out for
not-
someone,
And you love
know,
someone, you want to
if-
make sure that you know.
So
yeah,
I could imagine when she got hurt and they thought she was pregnant. That moment, I thought about it, but it happened so fast. He had way other things to worry about, and he was taking her to the doctor anyway. So
there is also the consideration that if he never purposefully listened out for it, then the fact that he never heard it just purely as
He's blocked it out.
accidentally, he just didn't think about it. There's loads of things I do in life where things go by and I'm like, oh yeah, I honestly didn't think about that. But
I mean, it would have also
it is a consideration.
been. I don't know. I think it would have been hard for him to. It would just be a reminder of what was going on too, and that would hurt him emotionally to do that. I can see why he didn't. I'll just say that, it's believable to me that he didn't.
But I would.
Dude,
That's
I
why
would
you're
not.
not Superman.
Dude, let me tell you. The super hearing thing, I would be the worst with that. There'd be no way that anyone would get any privacy with me.
I'd be all over that thing. All over
because
it.
when I was little, I used to always eavesdrop. So let me tell you, I already know
That X-ray vision would be getting some doing as well. I can tell you that much. Oh yeah. Anyway, next
I would
up,
not have the.
You'd be banned from sports centres.
Lexana, morning Lex, then Lana POV. All right, okay.
Yeah, thought we could do both at the same time because they're so close.
Yeah. So we start the day again, and we hang on. This is from Lex's point of view, isn't it? We're on Lex's.
So we had Lex, and then we can talk about Lana. But yeah, so Lex wakes up, right? She's not in bed, but he knows that something is off with her. Yeah. She doesn't seem 100% happy for sure for a wedding day. She definitely seems off. He asked her, and she goes, "No, I'm fine. I slept fine." When it was clear that she looked tired because even Chloe commented on it, so she didn't sleep well. So he knew that she was lying about that. But she certainly put on an act for Lex for, I think, the first time you can see Lana putting on an act, Yeah. Yes, I'm going to pretend I'm fine and happy. But then as soon as when we see Lana's point of view, which is what's really interesting about the two point of views, then we see her turn away and she's not happy at all when he's not looking.
Yeah. It's this. See, I don't know if this is going to bleed into other scenes, but I want to talk about it anyway. So this is what I was talking about when I say I'm going to come to Lana's defense right now, but there is a caveat, which is that there is a side to her here that is clearly on display that shows she can be underhanded, manipulative, so to speak. She can conceal her agenda. There's a side to this whole thing that's not entirely, what's the word? It's wholesome, I guess. It's just, and yet.
But you can understand why she wouldn't want it.
That's
Let
what I'm
those
getting
the
to,
securities,
Nicole.
yeah.
That's what I'm getting to. I'm getting there right now. And yet, all the deception stuff with luring Chloe down into the wine cellar to lock her in order for Clark to come so that she can find out what she needs to find out about Clark. Now, in the past, I've thought that's a very underhanded move. She shouldn't have done that, this, that, and the other. But this time around, I've got to say, what choice does she really have? Because, right, it's now or never, basically. She loves Clark, right? She loves Clark. This is now or never. She either walks down the aisle with Lex. And I do think there are things in this episode to suggest that she does love Lex. But she loves Clark more. And if she can get a true answer as to whether or not Clark loves her or, whatever, then she can put all that behind her or make the jump and say, Clark, let's do it. And with regards to the powers, the underhanded way in which she discovers Clark's powers, again, what choice does she really have? Because Clark is
I got opinions on that.
Yeah, but Clark has been unwilling. I know what some of them opinions will be. They'll be, well, she didn't have a right to know. It's not for her to know. And it's like,
Brian, there's a whole thing. Go ahead, Durbin. What were you going to say about her not having the right to know because she's not in a relationship?
Do we want to get into this now, or do we want to let Brian finish his point?
All right, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
My point is, she's not been left with much choice, right? Mm-hmm. Her options are, you're going to be walking down the aisle in a few hours. So if the only thing that is going to stop you walking down the aisle in a few hours is knowing the truth about Clark, then pursue that truth while you can. Because if you pursue it after you get married, then that's really bad judgment. That's really bad judgment. So I feel for her in this moment, in the sense that she's not been left with many options because the people she wants the truth from haven't given it to her, and she just wants to know it. And I get that, like both you and I, Durbin, have both said in the past, well, it's not your truth. It's not your truth to know. But look at the situation she's in. It's a truth that would literally determine the rest of her life, the course that she's going to take. So
it's the only thing holding her back from, and it's completely understandable why she's held back by not knowing this truth, given everything that we have seen. And let's start off with the tornado, because I love that they brought that back.
But I don't think, don't forget as well, she wouldn't be in this position right now if she didn't have that implement that Lex stabbed Clark with, and it bent.
Right. Yes.
Because that was a few episodes before.
That was in Trespass.
But that's not the only thing in that episode that triggered her to look into.
No, she saw some things. But what I'm saying is, those are the things. They're the trigger points that have brought her to this point where it's like, I have to know the truth now.
There's one
it
other
was a waking up.
There's
hang on, one person at a time. One person at a time. Nicole, go.
There's one other key thing that happened in Crimson that triggered her to look, because you have to remember the last thing she knew about Clark was he told her, I don't love you. Okay, I'm not in love with you anymore. And that's why they broke up. So she thought that he was losing love for her. And Brian, I want you to play that Crimson clip now.
Unfortunately, the sound is out of sync, but here we go.
Don't marry Lex. Marry me.
Is that the whole
Okay.
thing?
That's
Is there
the
not
clip.
more?
No,
That's
that
the
was
clip.
it. That
Okay.
was the point. Okay. The fact he said that to her, like he loved her that much, and it came out, and she knew that there was something off with him, but that he confessed that was basically that he confessed that he loved her, and he's saying, "Marry me," and she's like, and that moment changed everything from her, from that moment. All right, because that's when she started to like, wait a minute, he still loves me. Like, he wants to marry me. Do I really want to be with Lex? I really am in love with Clark. And, you know, is this what he's doing? But I need to know what is going on with him. Why does he do this to me? Why is he, you know, there and then he's not there, and then
Gaslighter.
yeah, constantly, and he's pushing me away, and I like, who would really want to get it back, even though that she's really in love with him? Do you really want to get back into that situation where someone's constantly lying to you? You know they're hiding something. They're you know that they're hiding a big part of who they are, and you can't get close to them because of that. And then here he is saying, "Marry me," okay? And she's like, "Well, I want to be with you, but this is a problem." And then she's like, "Well, maybe if I can just figure this out, and then I can, because she's so troubled by this in this episode. She's having these nightmares where she's remembering him saving her in the tornado.
Yeah.
She knows that there's something, that he's always watching out for her, and that he always seems to be there. So there's something different with him. Doesn't exactly know for sure." And then he, and then she, well, as we see in the other clip, she talks to her Aunt Nell about it. And Aunt Nell says, you can't walk down that aisle if you still have something unresolved. So it's not like she just, you know, decided, I'm going to find out a secret. It's that this was something that was building up inside of her.
There's a lot of things coming against her in this moment. There's a lot of things weighing on her, and it's just, and ultimately she is staring down that aisle, and it's like, by the end of today, I am either Lex Luthor's wife, or I've got other options. And it's just like, it's just, you know, pick one. I think if she didn't have that pressure on her, then she wouldn't be so driven in that moment to find out what she.
And she is the only one that found out about Clark's powers without putting anyone's life in danger. Can we just say that?
Chloe didn't put anybody's life.
It was a bit of deduction, wasn't it?
Literally, the whole time with the
Lois
smart.
didn't put anybody's life in danger.
Huh? Who?
Neither Chloe nor Lois put anybody's life in danger to find out the secret.
Chloe didn't
Exactly.
Didn't
it was the
seek
crazy
that
girl
out.
who teleports.
Yeah.
And she put lives in danger. And then with Lois,
Yes. But
she was just rescued and then kissed her rescuer and went, "Oh crap, you're Clark."
well, but she didn't seek out his secret. Everyone that
she
seeked
didn't.
out his
Yes.
secret did. I mean, you could start off with in Rogue. I mean, let's drop a engine on him. Let's blow him up in a truck. Then you have Tess, who takes down a plane. I mean, these people like Lana just locked somebody in a fridge and was right there. So if something happened, she could have unlocked it, let her out, and be like, "Oh, you're fine." That's all she did.
Okay. Lisa, did you want to say
Even
something?
Lex, let me show off my powers by shooting into my hand. I mean,
No, it's more of the same stuff that Nicole's done.
Right.
But yeah, I think Nicole should take up a second job as a sort of like a relationship counsellor. I think she'd be very good.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna have to start getting moving, guys, because we're like.
Well, we're gonna move through these fast.
Right.
We
Nervous
didn't talk about
Lex asks Dad for help. I find it hard to read these. I think it's just been a long day.
It looks a bit French. Neveu.
Neveu Lex asks Daddy for help.
Dad for help.
Yeah, help. Give me help, Dad.
Yeah, that was
Right.
a really interesting discussion they had.
Hello,
you know,
hello.
how, of where Lex was coming from and all this, and how he just, you can kind of see where his motivations were. He knew that Lana was pulling away, so he's trying to, well, I'll just be the puppet master, and Lionel's like, I'll make sure she gets down the aisle.
Well, this is another one of those things that I get why Lionel did what he did. I don't like what he did. Because, I get he wants to protect Clark, and he wants to protect Clark's secret. And I guess I could get, if Lana chose Clark, it would really send Lex into fury, and that would really put Clark in danger. So I understand for Clark's sake, this was the best move that Lionel can make. Still didn't like it.
I don't know that it was the best move. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know that it is the best move.
I'm sure there was another way, but it's Lionel, and this is the way he thinks. He has to control people, right? And that was the easiest way.
But
I think
we're
Lionel was all about. Lionel was all
because he
about
doesn't trust.
Lionel was all about the protecting part. He wants to know, what Lex is up to with all the projects that he's doing. And he needs someone on the ground to find out because he knows that something bad's happening.
Yes.
Well, there
the
is
thing is, we're also
more than
assuming that Lionel only has one agenda here.
He has. That's what I was going to say. He definitely has more than one agenda.
He has multiple agendas, and I think, he's trying to protect Clark, but I don't think that's the sole reason. I think, getting Lana down the aisle brings his son closer to him. And if it doesn't bring his son closer to him, it at least gives him some leverage, which they talk about, at some point with regards to the murder and stuff. So we know that he's the kind of father who enjoys having a bit of leverage over his son. But somewhere deep down in that twisted psychosis of his, he also does want Lex to be happy, and fine. You want this Lana bird? Have her. I'll make sure she's there, son. And it's like, so there's three different agendas there, all of which could have different levels of priority to him. So I don't think it's just about protecting Clark.
No, it's not.
And he
It was just about protecting Clark. There was way other ways to do this. He
covers up the murder so completely as well. It's like, what's going on?
He's protecting his son too, believe it or not. He's protecting Lex's heart, and he's afraid. I think part of it is that he's afraid what would happen to Lex if he lost Lana, and what direction Lex would go. But I also think that he wants to have leverage, like you said, over him. And yeah, I mean, a part of him was like, yeah, and I can use this to protect Clark all at the same time. So who cares about Lana? She could be the Stefford wife.
I don't know. You remember in Zack Snyder's Justice League, that line that they had, don't wave the red cape at the bull. And Bruce says, no, this red cape fights back. So when you tug on Superman's cape like Lionel's doing, I mean, even though Lionel has these 3 or more separate agendas working together, you would hope in that psychosis he's going, I am tugging on Superman's cape. I hope that does not come back to bite me.
Oh, yeah. He knows. It's a calculated risk for sure. But he just like Lionel, which is where Lex learned it from, he's trying to control everyone and emotionally manipulate people. And that's just the way he knows how to get things done. And
it's
that's where he's going to go.
Redeemed at this point. Like, he's not the same evil Lionel he was before, but you can see, even though he is redeemed, he's still retained a lot of those bad habits.
Yeah,
which makes him a very interesting character, because you're really not, because he was kind of a villain in this episode. So
good old Lionel. I like
good
it
old
when they bring
Lionel,
good
yeah.
old Lionel.
No,
But
and I love
that's
it
my
though.
Lionel.
I love interesting characters like that are just they're not all good, they're not all evil, and you're just kind of like, okay, you don't really know what they're gonna do because like.
So next up is a nice little clip for Durban.
I won't let you take her away from me.
I just heard the organ music and everything. It's so appropriate.
Yeah, we're getting a copyright strike for that, guys. So
I was hoping that just because it was so common that we wouldn't get it.
No. I gotta say, the thing that stuck out to me about that scene more than anything, and I sent a picture to Nicole. I may have sent it to all of you actually. What the hell was going on with the back of Lex's head? Like
That big huge knot back there.
Yeah, and he had this like wrinkly skin, like he,
Yeah.
it like
He
it
always
wasn't.
has that. I've always noticed that giant knot back
No.
there.
No.
Did
This
I
this
give
was.
you that? I have a clip of it.
Let's see it.
I don't think you do that. Like if we'd have held on that clip a bit longer, we'd have seen it. But it was just like, yeah, it's like I don't think it was Rosenbaum. I think they needed another shot that perhaps they didn't get. We needed it from the back, and then you see it.
I threw it in there for you.
It's
You want to pull it
yeah,
out?
I can't. I can't. Not right now. But either way, he's got all these wrinkles at the back, like that are just well too pronounced. Like he's wearing a skull cap.
So they had to get a pickup shot and had a stand in, put on the bald cap, and you can really see it.
Yeah, big time.
I'll notice next time. I didn't quite notice that this time, so I'll look for that next time I get in
Check
there.
it out. Once you see it, it's blatantly obvious, and you're like, ew. Dude, go and see someone about that. It's a condition. Right, so next up, have we said all we wanted to say about that scene, other than crazy wig head?
I just wanted to say that, the doctor is Jonathan Kent from Smallville and Superman and Lois.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't wait to rewatch that show now that it's on HBO Max.
Or on BBC, coming soon.
I don't have BBC. I don't pay a license. I want it on Blu-ray, dagnammit. Just hurry up and get out on Blu-ray. Stupid releases. Right, okay. Next up, we've got Lana dreams about Clark saving her. I'm so
We're
glad.
going back in time.
Oh, yeah.
So glad they brought back that Tempest moment, because it was about time, really, weren't it? Because that was a pretty huge moment in the show.
Well, here's
in the
what I
first
like
season.
about the dreams. Each of the three dreams really sets up where all of these characters are. Clark feeling powerless. Lana was able to overpower him and make him stab her, and he was helpless to save her from this marriage. So, like, you have that dream. And then you have dream number 2, Lex's guilt for what he's doing to Lana to get her to walk down the aisle, and you see little baby demon in the womb. And then you have this dream showing us all of the unresolved issues that Lana has. That's one of the things I really like. Each time they reset and told from a new POV, each time it began with a dream that really showed where they're at.
And it's so interesting they brought back Tempest, because I remember when I first watched Tempest, I thought, well, she knows the secret now. I mean, she just saw him save her in a tornado, and then after that, I was like, how did? I mean, that's some gaslighting right there that he was able to do.
Yeah.
Seriously. So it made a ton of sense that would stick with her for years. I mean, plus, terrifying experience. But she also had some other clips in there. So there was some things that she was really thinking about. It's really interesting. I would have loved to know everything. And when we get to the reveal, I have more to talk about, but I'll wait.
So next is it's the Lana speaks her reservations with Nell, but we've kind of already touched on that.
We haven't heard my opinion on it.
Oh, go then. Drop your mic, my friend.
I was waiting.
Here's my thoughts. I actually even put this in my review. So it's even in my review. And based on everything we said, like, I don't want to go against some of the main things like you said, Brian, because she does have a lot of pressure on her. So we can't deny that. And we can't deny that she loves Clark, and we can't deny that she possibly loves Lex to some weird degree. So there's a lot of pressure, and she's got to get this issue unresolved. But one of the things that I said in my review is this. Here she is on her wedding morning, and this is not typical just cold feet, nervous jitters. This is more. This is way more intense. So it's Clark's secret. It's not hers. And no, she had no right to pull off that deception. To me, that's just her entitlement mentality. But the idea that I have here is even harder than what she did. That the path that she should have taken, I think, is the path of just leave them both. I mean, that would have been hard. It would have been tormenting. But here's the deal. Clark did it right in season 5 when he took her to the fortress, revealed his secrets, and proposed. We know he did it right because she said yes and everything was good and all of that stuff. And it was fantastic. And then it all went to crap. And the next time he did it right is when he broke up with her. Because if he's not going to be honest about who he is, then he can't have a relationship with her, because you can't have a relationship with a secret that big. So the next thing he did right is when he broke up with her, because he can't string her along anymore, even if he has these feelings for her. If he's made the decision he can't tell his secret to her, then he needs to break up with her. When he broke up with her, all right that she had to know his secret is now gone. They're not in a relationship. There is no commitment. Yes, I'm not saying it's not burning in her mind. I'm not saying that she has this tornado thing stuck in her head, but I am saying they broke up.
No.
He proposed to her.
What Nicole just said. I agree with you. I agree with you completely, totally, 100%. Until little douchebag boy goes up to her and says, "Don't marry Lex, marry me." When you drop that bomb,
I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten there yet. But you're right. I will agree with you on that point. I just haven't gotten to that point. I'm talking about what's gone right, even if it's ugly, which is building to where Lana's
But she
at.
didn't try to find out his secret before that moment.
Well, in season 6,
when he drops that bomb on her, he loses the right to say,
I get that.
"Oh
I get
no,
that.
I'm keeping my."
But I'm not there yet. You got to give me a chance, because even before he's under the influence of red kryptonite,
She doesn't know that.
I don't care.
She doesn't.
I don't. Shh. Before we get there, before that moment even occurs, she is sneaking around his barn and taking pictures. Before that occurs, she sits down with Chloe in the apartment and says, "Don't deny that Clark has a secret." And, she basically spells out her intentions to Chloe that she is going to find it out. And if I'm remembering incorrect, I could be wrong, but it's because it's been a while. I think some of that stuff was the beginning of season 6, before he was hopped up on Red K and before he did that stupid thing.
She didn't take the pictures in the barn until after he.
I'll give you that.
So, okay,
but
and in terms of what she said to Chloe, she didn't go checking out his secret after that moment. No, she just said, "Hey, it's obviously there's something going on. There is a secret that you guys have been hiding from me for years, and I knew that something's going on. Will you freaking just admit that there is something?"
But let's get to my main point.
You have to tell me what it is. But remember that the whatever her name was, the crazy reporter said, "I know about the farm boy is blah," and then she took a hammer to it. So it's like there's something going on. Stop denying. That would drive you up the wall, Durbin. If it was a friend, it would drive you crazy. Oh, I know there's something. There is something.
I know.
Lying to me.
And I'm not arguing against any of it. My argument is, yes, he was stupid under the influence of Red K, and he said what he said, and then he stupidly walks it back like he always stupidly does. But this is what I don't like. I love season 6. He propels forward, going after the wraiths and all of these cool things, and then Lana always drags him back. But what I don't like, that's beside the point. What I don't like is when we get to the wedding day and she's talking to Nell. This is what I'm building to. They're not engaged, she and Clark. They're not in love. Yes, it's driving her crazy.
Marry me.
And I get it. Yes, and marry me. I totally get it. But that doesn't give her the right to steal this secret from him. Instead, she should have done, if she was having this much doubt, this much fear, and this much turmoil on her wedding day, You don't go try to rob this from Clark, even if it's driving you up a wall. You don't stay in a dysfunctional relationship with Lex. You freaking go live with Aunt Nell wherever she's living, and
Hold
you
on.
get your butt out
hell
of
no. No one's living with
Hold on
that
a
now.
second. Hold on a second. First of all, Lex is she also has his baby, and he's rich. Okay, but let me say this. And she didn't hate him then. She just loved Clark more. But if you're gonna say that about Lana, you know that Lois tried to figure out Clark's secret too.
There was yeah. It
Swings
just
and
didn't
roundabouts,
feel
man.
as
Swings and roundabouts.
intense. Like Lana just felt like I have deserved it and I have earned it. And Lois felt more like a bulldog reporter going after a juicy bone. And maybe it's just because...
after I heard him talk to her as the Blur on the phone, and it was his voice came across, she was trying to figure it out. And then what happened next? All right, at the end of season 9, all right, we have Zod as a Blur telling her about Clark. And what does she do? She goes on his computer to go investigate. She goes into his personal
I'm
trunk.
not saying they're all
looking through
perfect.
his diary. He looked in his journal, okay? He looked in his private journal. And you're okay with that, but not this.
I'm not okay with this because she blatantly set up this thing. I'm not okay with Lois Lane getting into his journal and stuff. I'm not okay with that. But here's the big difference. They were in season 9 when she's going through his journal. In season 9, they're in a intimate relationship. They haven't slept together.
They broke
they're
up.
Close. They're in a relationship.
No.
Breakup,
She still loves him.
Up.
She still loves him. She declared the love. She still loves him.
And I'm not saying she was perfect, and I'm not saying I was okay with it. But what I'm saying is in season
You have a double
9,
standard.
they were committed beyond just being friends. They were trying to build an actual relationship. So actually, I would say Clark was in the wrong in season 9 and not Lois because he had committed to this relationship with her. He knew he should have told her
Clark
secret.
hadn't committed to Lana?
No, not in season 6.
5?
And
Okay,
yeah, that was over.
not when he
it was
said
broken
marry
up.
me?
It was over. Are you
Marry
not
Lex,
listening to
marry
my whole
me.
case? It's over. The whole
Marry
case is
me.
they are not in a relationship anymore.
Marry
and
me.
They are so dysfunctional. When he said marry me, he wouldn't say that under a normal circumstance. He said
she
it
doesn't
under
know that.
drugs. I don't care what she knows. The point is
You can't. It's a double standard, man. It's a double
No,
standard.
I'm
You can't
saying-
judge. You can't judge someone for
No,
what they
because he
don't
went and
know.
walked
You
Yeah.
can
back
only.
You
like
can't
he
do that.
always does.
You
And
can
I'm
only-
judging Clark. Clark is dysfunctional when he's with Lana, and it's part of why I
That's
don't like the
not.
Lana
You're
drama.
not wrong about Clark being dysfunctional when he's with Lana. You're not wrong about that. But
So
you're
I'm telling Lana, run
but
from
you're,
all the
you're
dysfunction.
taking that
Get
those
away.
feelings.
Just run,
But
woman.
Durbin,
Get away. Go to Paris. Go to Paris. Just get away from all of it. You
But
don't
Durbin,
need
hold
any
on.
of it, Lana. You have more value than to sit there and be entitled to some farm boy's secret who's so
he's not
wishy-washy about whether or not he's
entitled
gonna
any
get it
more
or not,
than
and a
Lois
rich millionaire.
was. All right. Here's the thing. I think you're taking your feelings about the dysfunctionality and how it affected Clark moving forward into Superman and taking those feelings and you're putting it all on Lana. Okay?
Well, like,
it's all
50%
her
of it
fault.
at least is on Lana. The other 50% is him, but it's on her.
But
Can we
Lois
just agree that they're
definitely
wrong
did the
for
same
each
thing.
other? Can we just agree
They
they're
are
wrong
wrong
for each other?
I mean-
completely.
I think the show made it clear that they were wrong from each other when they had her
No,
the
because in
relationship
season
ended,
8,
how
they
it
walked
began.
back. You guys
with
are
her
right for each
being-
other, but she has kryptonite in her skin, so you can't be together. So Lois is your consolation
Hold
prize
on a
'cause you
second.
can't have Lana.
Hold on a second. You didn't let me finish, Durbin. She literally was the same as she was in episode 1. He couldn't get close to her because of kryptonite. And in the last episode with them together, he couldn't get close to her because of kryptonite. She was his literal toxin.
Yeah, it's a symbol of what she was the whole show.
Yes, that's that was the symbolism there that they were
Yes.
going for.
Now, let's
right?
be clear, though,
So-
because I understand this double standard thing you're talking about. No, I was not a fan in season 9 when Lois went through his journals. I did not like that. I thought, Lois, don't Lana out on
Durbin
me
likes
here.
his secrets. Does anyone notice that? He's like,
Well, it's because it's Clark's
it's very interesting.
secrets. It's Clark's life. It's this thing that has rested on his shoulders for so
Durbin,
long.
you've never been like interested in anyone else in your life that they, about them, and never once in your life have you been like curious about something?
Well, I mean, as far as I know, I never met a Kryptonian who.
I mean, if you had, your girlfriend's journal just sitting there, wouldn't be tempted?
I don't think so. Because I had a sister and she had her journal, and there was no
And
way
you
I
weren't
was going to get
tempted?
in that mess.
Well, maybe because you didn't want to get into her head, but
I did have my girlfriend's journal when the girlfriend, the only girlfriend I had before my wife. I did have her journal sat in front of me once, and I did choose not to read it.
And I'd like to say it's because I'm noble that I wouldn't read a girl's journal, but let's be honest, it's because I'm fearful. I would not want to read that and get caught and then be destroyed. So it's I'm not trying to act like I'm all noble
but
here.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't now, but I'm saying when I was a kid, I would absolutely have done, as a teenager. Are you kidding me? Yes. Now, as I've grown up, I think
if you're in a relationship with someone that's supposed to be a committed relationship, then there shouldn't really be any secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that stance, I side with Lana. I do think, Durbin, you're right. When he broke it off, she lost her rights to ask for his secret. But I think she regained them again when he said, and it doesn't matter that she doesn't know about red kryptonite. As far as she's concerned, as far as she's concerned, this dude is playing with her feelings, because 1 minute he doesn't, the next minute he does. 1 minute he doesn't. She doesn't know it's red kryptonite, so all she sees is the behavior.
But doesn't that just mean,
and there was another thing that happened
Paris,
too.
Get away from dysfunctional Clark and get away from dysfunctional Lex. Run to another country, another state. Just leave them both. I understand what you're saying, Nicole, about that desire to know the secrets. And, the fact that under Red K, she didn't know it was Red K. So, yeah, whatever. There's things about this that I understand what you're saying. But I still don't think she had the right to do what she did. And I think what would have been the best and healthiest move for her before Lionel could threaten her, before any of that could go down, if she realized she was having this much doubt about Lex and she is in this much turmoil about Clark. The healthiest thing, even though it's the hardest, I'm not arguing it's easy, the healthiest thing would be to run. Because here's where Clark made
to be a single mom.
Clark's biggest. I understand what you're saying
remember
about that, but she's manipulative, and she would have stolen $1 million.
Yeah, but no. Let me just say something there. If she did that, that would make her even worse of a human being than what you're saying she is for doing what she did to find out Clark's secret, because she's taking Lex's child with her. And
that's a point.
To me, as a father, is unforgivable.
Well, so maybe she just needs to leave and get away from them and work out with Lex how he's part of the child's life. But in terms of being in a dysfunction where she has to choose Clark or Lex, and at this point, even though she doesn't know about Red K, so from her perspective, it's unhealthy because Clark is mentally unstable going back and forth, and Lex is a true monster. And
she doesn't know that yet.
I understand.
Here's my thoughts.
And I think that she wants to marry. She did want to marry him, but which is why she said yes to the proposal, right? But part of it, I think, was she's pregnant. It kind of lifted her up.
I have a theory about why she said yes to the proposal.
But she's a little bit conflicted, Durbin. She needs to resolve her feelings. She doesn't feel like her feelings are resolved with Clark.
I think there's a middle ground.
And that's where she wants to resolve that so then she can feel fully committed to Lex, because she wants to be. I think that was part of it. If she found out that there was nothing special with him, and then it was just that he didn't actually have these feelings for her, then she would be like, I can give my whole heart to Lex because I don't feel this conflict anymore. Yeah. So that's where she was going.
Now, can I defend Lana for 1 second? Do you mind if I defend her? Here's where this really all went bad. This is the root. Those first episodes of season 5. I know Clark doesn't have powers, so in a sense, he felt he never had to tell her about his true heritage, who he really was, and what he'd done before. This is on Clark. During that time, they were really committed. I think long before he proposed, she should have known there. Even though he had no powers to share and show her, I think that would have been the appropriate time for him to tell her everything. Yeah. And he
would
didn't.
She have believed him?
I don't know.
I think she would. I think she would, given the fact that she's dreaming about him flying around in tornadoes. The thing is, it's like just because you lose.
Like, I don't disagree with you, Durbin. I think, and it was actually something I was really glad in season 9. You know, when Clark and Lois almost had sex and escape, right? And while as much as I wanted it to happen, I was glad that it didn't happen because she didn't know this really big part of him. And that if you're going to get to that level in a relationship, you need to know. I mean, plus it gets a little they're different species too, which brings a whole new thing into it. Like, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, you really shouldn't do that without, you know.
I think, you know, if you're in the military, if you lose all the medals that you won when you're in the military that you're awarded with, it doesn't mean that the history you had to get those medals has suddenly disappeared.
Right.
It's like just because Clark loses his powers doesn't mean it doesn't mean, oh great, I no longer come from Krypton. You're still. That's your history, dude. It's like, what, you're going to hide your entire history from this woman just because you no longer have your powers? That's like denying who you are, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, let me take his mistake in
But he
season
was
5
trying to be human, though.
Forward.
I think that he thought he was human, and like that part, he just said that part of my life is over. Like, he just felt, I think he was in his own fantasy and thinking that, okay, now I can just be a human, you know, and I don't have to deal with all that stuff anymore. It also, he was a little bit afraid about telling her. He didn't know how she would react, right? So then, did you really, like, if you did something, all right, let's say you did something that you probably shouldn't have done at the beginning of a relationship with someone, but you got past it and then you kind of moved on, right? And then you were in this committed relationship. Would you want to tell them about the misdeeds?
Yeah,
you would be conflicted, even if whether you did or didn't, you would certainly be conflicted about it. Because why would I hurt them or hurt the relationship if it's really, you know, what happened was something stupid I did one time, and you know, I mean,
I understand where you're coming from on that. I guess it's us, the audience. We have the hindsight that Clark doesn't have. It's like, man, if he had just said something then, this could all be solved now. And then I want to take what happened at the beginning of season 5, because he repeats this in season 9 with Lois, doesn't he? I mean, and the thing that's worse is he's got all of his powers. He's got all of those abilities. And now he's in a committed relationship with Lois. And I get it. Take time, build to it, work it up, whatever. I get it. But he never got there. And so I don't like what Lois did. I don't like that she went through the diary and all that stuff. So I'm being consistent, but also at the same time, I'm looking
you don't
at
have
Clark,
a double standard.
and I do realize that there's a lot of this that is on Clark.
Guys. Lisa, understandably, is looking tired. I know why she's looking tired, because I live in the same country that she does. It's now 20 to 1 in the morning. So and we're not even halfway through.
Let's
move on.
So,
let's move on.
Move on.
I think we
I think we did it.
I'm not going to bother with this card because I feel like
tired.
covered
Go on,
it.
move on.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother with this card because we've literally just talked about that stuff. Lana leaving Lex. Do we really need to talk about that? We've kind of. Is there really anything to add? I don't think so. Right. Lana threatened by Lionel. We talked about that because we talked about his multiple agendas and motives. So there's really no reason to go over that.
But you feel so bad for Lana though when that happens. I mean, oh my! It destroys her. Really. All right.
Picks his moments.
And hold on. I don't know how we missed the card about seeing. I want to show the clip from. We missed something, Brian. Lana's point of view of the secret reveal. I have a clip, and I want to show it because there's something I want to talk about there.
Okay, here we go.
Giving up Lana's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, and if you don't know that, you don't know me very well.
It's the only time in the show
The lack of audio.
we see what Clark's powers would look like to one of the other characters.
And I liked it a lot. That was cool.
I thought that was really awesome. And I actually really like how they kept, the different angles and stuff that they used. And what was also very interesting is this reveal wasn't just about Clark's powers. It was about how he felt about the whole relationship, and what he just said there. Giving up Lana was the hardest thing I had to do. That you told Chloe saying you totally love her. So it was way more. It was a reveal, emotional reveal as well as a physical reveal. Now, what I don't understand is how did she not know that he was from Krypton, and after seeing those powers, because she saw Zod.
Yep.
She saw the other Kryptonians. She knew that their weakness was kryptonite because she, brought them to the vault that had the green rocks in it. So that always bothers me.
In her defense, she does live in the meteor-free capital of the world. She's seen a lot of people do a lot of crazy-ass stuff. So...
But she did the fact that she's the only time that she's seen someone use heat vision is in the Kryptonians. It's because she saw the speed, the strength, and the heat vision. I mean, what a coincidence that someone with meteor powers would have those three. Now, she didn't know about the super hearing and the act, but she didn't know about that with the Kryptons either, But I mean, I'll have to I let that little bit go. It does nag me a little bit. But otherwise, the scene is phenomenal. And, her, I mean, now she's just totally wants to be with Clark. And then Lionel comes in and says, and she literally does to Clark what Clark did to her. So she learned from Clark, okay? And that Clark was trying to protect her, so broke her heart to do it. She does the same thing here. For the same reasons.
This is my one criticism of Lana in this episode. Okay, I don't think this is the best way to deal with the situation. I feel like this is. There was something I noticed actually in this. It's not noticed but acknowledged in this episode, which is that, like, if she's not down the aisle within literally 5 minutes, because she's already late to the aisle, so it's game time right now. Lionel comes in and says, "Get your ass down the aisle, or I'm killing Clark." So she doesn't have time to run over to Clark, tell him everything, and then go down the aisle. She's got to get down the aisle. But I do think that later episodes, so it's not so much criticism of this episode as where it goes after this. After the wedding and that, the first thing she should have done is gone to Clark and said, "Look, boom, this is what's going on. Lionel, blah, 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 threaten you."
Well, she said why she didn't do that, though, Brian, because she knew that Clark would risk his own life to protect her.
I just feel like it's a weak-ass excuse, because she's seen what Clark can do, and I feel like
she doesn't know his weakness, though.
I don't know, it just feels weak to me, because surely if Lionel has got something that can take Clark out, Clark is best knowing about it. And surely it just to me, it's like being honest in that situation would be the best way to go, because then you could put your heads together. Lana could work from the inside to figure out what that.
She also knows how Clark operates, okay, and Clark operates a little bit emotionally, especially when it comes to someone that he loves that's in danger. he's going to go right in. And she says, you're just going to go right in. So all you just said, put your heads together. And she knew that as soon as she told him, he'd run off to go, solve the problem without her. And which he does, by the way, with Lois many times. He doesn't, let me plan this out. It's just one of his weaknesses. He just runs in. He doesn't have any strategy. And he gets himself into trouble. And so what she did instead, Brian, is she put together a plan so that way she knew she had a way to protect Clark and herself. So that and she that's why she waited. She didn't just do nothing. She said, okay, I'm going to come up with this plan, put it in place. And then once I have everything together, then I'm going to tell Clark.
Okay. Right. Let's go. Where are we?
Now, Chloe just told her his weakness, and that would have been easier. But
here we go. Let's have a clip.
Keep him in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, and forsaking all others, as long as you both shall live.
See, Lionel in that moment, that is not the face of someone who is just trying to protect Clark. That is one smug ass looking face. It's like he's stood there and he's thinking, I hold all the cards.
I hold the power of everyone right now.
Yeah, I'm literally in control of this entire room, and none of you guys know it. That's what that face is. So, yeah, no matter how much he tries to run from it, he'll always have a little bit of that old Lionel in him.
And poor Lana is literally crying during the ceremony. It clearly is not happy tears, and everyone is like, "Oh, everything is fine here."
Oh yeah, the bride's crying. Yeah.
I mean, that's just not the way it looks.
She's
when
so happy.
Oh yeah.
And I feel bad for Lana too. I mean, it's just, oh God, it's painful to watch that scene. Especially because, you just go off the high or you think that, Lana is going to run off and they're going to be happy. Although, come on, it's Smallville. That's not going to happen. But, then they hit you with this and it's just, everyone. And, I mean, Lex is thankful, but he's also does notice that something is off. Yeah. He's trying to push it away, but he's noticing something is wrong.
So some reactions that are just like when they get in the car. So when Lex and Lana get in the car at the end, and as they're getting in the car, Lex looks at Clark, and it's just a look that's like,
I won.
I got you won.
I won.
And it's like, yeah, and it's just, it's like.
So
but that's what that enemy is. Like I said, that was them making them enemies, right? Like, ha ha, I got Lana and you didn't.
Yeah. Suck it. Okay, so just one more scene, I guess, that we can go over. There's a few more bits that we could, but we need to wrap this thing up because it's getting
wrap it up.
But let's just go with this scene because it's quite a big scene, which is. Lionel knows what Lex did, and it's so twisted because Lionel shows like numerous times that he does have love for Lex, but then he always ruins it by showing that while he loves him, he still wants to be able to control him. He still wants Lex to know that he's got the power over him. And it's like there's no amount of love in Lionel that kind of supersedes his more negative traits.
Yeah. And I think it makes me sad because he's also playing favorites, right? Like, yes, I think there's real love for Lex, but there's that whole control dynamic. But then there's also that real love that he has for Clark. And I do think he's trying to manipulate and control Clark. But there's also a bit more of a fatherly love towards Clark than there is towards Lex. And it's really, really tragic.
And I don't even think it's a proper fatherly love, because I think it's more that I think Lionel just gets off on being the guy who knows who Clark is. It makes him feel somehow special. It's like, it's like it's like people now who, if they talk to a celebrity, and the celebrity like gives them a pat on the back or a hug or a kiss or whatever, and it's like they get off on that kind of, yeah, I'm buds with Ryan Reynolds. See what just happened there, and it's just like, really, are you though? It's like I just feel like it's this weird kind of misplay. It's because he knows stuff about Clark, and he kind of gets off on that. He likes being in the inner circle.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of power. I mean, he wants power. I know to know Clark's secret, you get power.
Yeah.
It's a whole son. Come on, son.
Yeah. Stop calling him son. Every
Yeah.
time he calls him son, it rubs me the wrong way, I've got to say. But it's like, I think it's only the fact that Jor-El has this kind of ability somehow to keep taking over Lionel or imprinting stuff in him that keeps his more wicked side at bay.
Yes.
Because he's always got that thing there in the back of his mind that if I step out of line, his Kryptonian father, he could do a number on me. So I'll play it safe, and I'll be happy to be in the inner circle and be the guy who knows the guy.
I know. I mean, it is helpful to have Lionel there, but at the same time, he does not. He's still Lionel, and he makes really stupid choices sometimes. He still has those habits of how he has to control things, which also falls into a season 7 episode. But yes, it's very interesting. He cleans up Lex's mess.
Yeah.
And he knows about the fake baby.
Yeah.
And he knows everything that is going on.
All of this is Lionel's fault. He could have told Lana this whole fake baby nonsense a while back and saved everyone a heap load of trouble.
Yep.
But then he wouldn't have control over them all. Yeah. He's the puppet master.
Exactly.
I mean, he
again, it's that
information
is power, and he just
there's lots of good stuff.
Do I go with the truth and the honesty, or do I go with the power? I think I'm going to go with the power because that's what I love. Final closing shot. Very tragic. We don't really need to say anything about that because it speaks for itself. But guys, final wrap-ups and score out of 5. Durban, go first.
Man, it's hard. Like, as an episode, it's really well done, and I'd give it 4. But yeah, the Lana drama. It's hard for me to get around the Lana drama. But as an episode, it's very well put together, and I love the POVs that they take, the way they go back and forth in the story. They do a really good job with it.
Okay. Lisa, go.
All right, what's the score basis?
Out of 5.
Out of 5.
So 5 being absolute classic, great episode, 1 being an absolute ageless.
4.5.
4.5.
1 being ageless.
Okay, Nicole, go.
0.
Nicole, go.
5. I have to give it a 5 because of my. I mean, yes, I think the only thing that this episode doesn't have is a lot of action, but otherwise, I mean, I have to give it a 5. It's just really well done.
I always take
and it's
drama
great story.
and
It's great emotion.
Anyway.
It's well done production wise. I love it. It's just so interesting.
Yeah. Like one of my all-time favorite episodes, Memoria, barely has any action. It's all drama. It's all the character stuff, and that to me is always that will always win out over good action sequences any day of the week. But so just looking at my I don't know if this will become a regular thing, guys. If you don't want it to, say so now, because I've got my original review that I wrote over on my blog. I don't know if you want to hear this or not. I've not read it to myself before this. I did give this episode. This is when I gave it a 4 out of 5 when I originally reviewed it. I can tell you that based on our discussion and based on my watch last night and my thoughts about it now, I'm actually going to go with a 5 out of 5. I do think it's a really great episode. There's a lot of character dynamics. I like the fact that we get 3 different perspectives that clue you into where each of these characters is at. I think it's handled really well. Let me just see what I originally said, because this could be humorous based on the last one I read out. So there's the synopsis. I'm not going to read that. We don't need that. So, this is my review. When Clark throws the photo in the pre-credit sequence, it suddenly dawned on me just how painful this would all be for him. The woman he loves, marrying the man he's grown to hate, and having his baby. It's obvious, really, but for whatever reason, it's this moment in which I have felt it most. Maybe because it's the day of the wedding, which means the window of opportunity to turn things around has all but disappeared. It's very relatable to see Clark dealing with the probability that all the reasons he'd had for not telling Lana his secret were really just to hide the fact that he was too chicken to set himself up for rejection. However, I feel that it's way too late in the day to be exploring this aspect of his character for the simple fact that Clark flipping well knows that Lana loves him. Not to sound like a stuck record, but he proposed once already and she said yes. So to have doubts at this point about how she feels is mind-numbingly stupid on his part. This would have been more suitable to explore in season 1 or 2, not season 6. I do have to say I disagree with that now because I realise that his fears aren't about her saying yes to him or no to him. It's about her saying no to him because of Lex, not because she doesn't love him. So that's something that I would change. I love the look on Clark's face, though, when Lana tells him to meet him at 5 because she's not going to marry Lex. He looks like the cat who got the cream. But I can't help but feel that Lana has acted selfishly in some respects in waiting until now. Would she still be acting this way if she hadn't secretly learned Clark's secret? Don't get me wrong, I'm not feeling sorry for Lex at this point, given what he's done, but as far as Lana is concerned, she is unaware of the truth concerning their baby, which means that, right now, she is a woman preparing to run off with another man and betray the father of her child.
That bothered me a little, I will admit.
It's almost a callback to the behaviour we saw from her great aunt in the season 2 episode, Relic. The scene between Lex and Lionel at Luther Corp, where Lionel promises Lex that Lana will be there at the wedding, is a really great scene. Lex shows a rare moment of emotional vulnerability in front of Lionel, and I believe in this moment Lionel truly loves his son. It's obvious that he's about to go off and plot something, but it will be a devious act that is intended for the right reasons. Not to hurt Clark and Lana, but to look out for the well-being of his son. When Lex snaps and kills the doctor who tries to blackmail him, I feel it was a mistake to have it looking accidental in the last moment. There should have been no ambiguity here. Given everything Lex is already guilty of, this would have been the perfect moment to have him commit the ultimate trespass with total intent. Love the callback to Tempest and Vortex with Lana's dream.
Building up to it, though, when they had him kill Lionel.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, that's a whole season later, though.
Yeah,
That's really building up to it. So laborious. It's nice to see that such a pivotal moment still. Although I do agree, it is a lot more poetic to have the person he kills be his father, the one that's with intent. That is. Love the callback to Tempest and Vortex with Lana's dream. It's nice to see that such a pivotal moment still plays through her mind after all this time. It's pretty funny that we haven't seen Aunt Nell in, like, forever, and now she finally pops up to offer Lana some sage advice.
At least she shows up at the wedding, whereas Chloe's dad just disappears. So, there's that.
Yeah. She finally pops up to offer Lana some sage advice that leads her into acting deviously in order to learn the truth. This scene only serves as a way of trying to absolve Lana of having acted the way she does, but it's unnecessary. There's no reason she couldn't have made this decision on her own, but the writers would rather turn Nell into the irresponsible parental figure that allows Lana to be painted in a negative light. As a result, they only make her look worse. There's a moment where Lionel strikes... Hey, I'm not saying I agree with this now. This is an old review, okay? My thoughts have changed. 5-star episode and all that, so don't get your knickers in a twist. Let's go. There's a moment where Lionel strikes Lex after finding the doctor's body in the crypt. He suggests that Lana has made him weak, and it is Lex's grovelling response that shows us that, in the most twisted of ways, Lex really does love Lana. But when he loves something or someone, his fear of losing them gives way to his need to control everything. It's tragic. He creates the whole phantom pregnancy situation, presumably to make Lana feel like she has to marry him. He does this because he loves her so much that he genuinely wants her to be his wife. But the level of doubt in himself is so great that he cannot trust that he is enough to make Lana want to spend her life with him. And so, control the outcome, phantom pregnancy. Like I said, tragic on so many levels. It annoys me that Lana can't at least be honest with Clark at the end. It feels like she is unnecessarily putting herself into the role of martyr when actually she should come clean with Clark and give him a heads up about Lionel threatening to kill him. If she believes that Lionel truly has a way to kill Clark, then she is putting him more at risk by keeping him in the dark than what she would if she gave him valuable warning. Like I say, don't agree with that now. You heard my thoughts tonight when we discussed the episode, so clearly my thoughts have changed. But I do find it fascinating to read that and just notice that my thoughts have indeed changed. These things are quite fluid. You can watch these series again and again, and you always get something different. Your thought perspective changes, and
except
that's
for
down
Ageless. You'll never change your mind on Ageless.
Oh yeah, except for Ageless, that's still a heap of crap. It's just like I think age, experience, what you go through in life shapes you.
For me, when I watched Smallville the first time, I was 100% on Clark's perspective. But when I rewatched it, I started to pay more attention to the other characters and what their perspective was. And that's what changed my thoughts on quite a few things. And so each time I watch it, I would notice something else about some other character and really start to think about it from their perspective. So that's what changed it, some things for me.
Yeah. It's
and that's why Brian needs to watch season 10 again.
You do, actually.
It's season 9 yet.
It has been. I gotta say, it has been on my most recent. It's getting late, guys. It's just turned 1:00 in the morning. It's been on my most recent rewatch that I've got to say, not counting season 4, that I've had the most understanding for Lana. I shall say. Still not fully on board with her. There are certain things there, but I
don't like her in the beginning of season 4.
Yeah, it's not quite as black and white as it once was for me. But there you go.
Just for me in season 7, especially. But that's another argument for another day.
That's another day, Dervin.
We'll get there another day. Anyway, on that note, folks. Those who tuned in live, thank you for watching us. If you managed to stay throughout all of that nonsense, thank you even more. If you're watching this after the fact,
argument.
Yes, intellectual argument, debate, not argument, debate.
There it is.
We're all still friends, people.
It's important. It's important to be able to disagree with things and have a conversation about it respectfully with people.
Yeah. Right. And on that note, we'll see you next time when we review another episode, which is as yet undecided. Bye-bye.